Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, so I'm going to use the bass breaker 30 there I got. It's the amp I've used all along with all the videos I've done for the most part have been the Cube, Roland Cube 40GX, which they stopped making a couple years ago. And that thing is perfect. It's got I set it on Dyna amp. It's a solid state amp. Set it on, it's got like all these different amp settings, JC, clean, blackface, and blah, 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 tweed. But I set it all with dial all the way up. It's called Dyna amp. And I just set the EQs almost all straight up. Mids and highs, a hair above straight up. And the bass down a little bit. So the bass is at about 4, and the other two, mids and highs, are at about 6. The gain I set for the gain channel, which I use a foot switch to switch to that. I set the gain at 1/4 of the way up, you know, so at about 9 o'clock. And that's how I run that amp. Just a delays on about 1/3 of the way up, and it's awesome. But this whole thing now, doing the tube amp, I gotta figure out where to set that delay, and I haven't figured it out yet. This is the amp's overdrive here. I like the sound of their overdrive, the gain that's in the amp. And then you can set it at, hit a gain boost, and it really cranks it. So the thing I gotta work on to get the sound I want is the delay, and I haven't found it yet. So it sounds almost like reverb more than gain, delay. Alright, so today we'll do a lesson in G. We'll do everything on clean. About, my theme will always be, when I remember to say it, in videos when I'm teaching something, is learn everything that I'm doing, or show you, learn that thing, or, you know, anything you find on your own too, learn that thing everywhere it is on the fretboard. Key to expanding your creativity. I'll never deal with cover songs because I want to teach the fretboard. And then when you work these things that I'm teaching, you start finding your own voice. That's what I think. You know, cover tunes are great, but you can go get those on YouTube. You can get tabs, you can get anything, whatever you need to learn those songs. But a lot of this, what I want to teach, is to expand your creativity and your ear. When it all comes down to it, Yngwie Malmsteen made a quote, which is perfect and obvious. If it sounds good, it is good. But learning these pentatonic things, and I'll go into diatonics eventually, will expand. First of all, it's kind of like a roadmap. I had a kid here last night, I was teaching him some things. It's kind of like you go in the grocery store, and after you've been there long enough, when you go shopping for the things you need, you know right where they are. You go up and down those aisles, and yeah, the peanut butter's down aisle 4, and frickin' it's up in the middle, and you know, your rice is on whatever aisle, and you know, so that's what teaching this is all about. I mean, you can find all kinds of things by ear, and ultimately, you know, you want it, whatever you create's got to sound good, but this, learning these helps you quickly. You can run up through them. Like, that's how I created the melodies to the tracks I did. Was starting out like, I'm going to play ZZ Blues later, and that's in G. It's just a G blues. It sounds sort of like Jesus Just Left Chicago, but it's not the same. It's just on that idea. So I titled it ZZ Blues. So anyways, here we go. I'm always doing A minor pentatonic or E. Doesn't matter. We'll do G. And then I'll play that track later. Most of you know this, but here's your G minor pentatonic. And always, another thing is, if you're not doing this already, alternate pick. Down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. Also, I do them starting with an up. People have asked me before, do you start with an up or down? Learn it both ways. Because when you go off into soloing, the more you master all these positions, and you get the alternate picking going, when I solo or create a melody, I don't think about whether I'm picking starting with an up or down. I just create a melody in whatever way works, you know. So, but you want to have the ability to do either or. But the ultimate thing is you want to get to a place where you do all your thinking, getting these down, and you want to play them so many times you get to where you don't have to think so much anymore. The less you think about what you're playing, the more it's going to come from the heart. But until you learn these things, it's going to be very limited because you have to think about them in the beginning. So anyway, so here we go. G. So the position before that for G here is starting with the F note. And so you got F, G, B flat, C, open P, F, G, B flat, C, D, F, G. Whoops. And another good thing to practice with these is I'll start at that block and go up the other one. Watch. So the fingering you can use here, fingers 1 and 3. Your fingers are 1, 2, 3, 4. Alright, so fingers 1, 3, 1, 3, open 3, open 3, 1, 3, 1, 3. But when you slide up, it'd be good to take your baby finger to go to that B flat note and then descend. The reason for that is then you want to develop all 4 fingers. Number one reason why I mentioned certain fingering. And also you don't have to move your hand. See, as much as it. So this is also the finger I'm talking about using, is to develop those fingers. When you solo, use whatever fingers you can get the job done with best, you know. So as a rule, I do certain fingering when I do these for exercises, but when I create a melody or a solo, I use whatever fingers are the best to get the riff done comfortably, you know. So again, here's your G minor pentatonic, starting at the lowest point on the fretboard would be the F note. Next position, you start with the B flat. And it becomes B flat major. There's a relative minor to every major. So if you're focusing on that G minor, its relative major is 3 frets up. 1, 2, 3, B major. And that's the case in any key. Or if you're talking about the major chord, then it's 3 frets down. So say you were in C. Its relative minor is A minor. So if you're at A minor, you want the major of that, you go up 3 frets. All the notes are the same. That's why it means relative minor. All the notes, we'll go back to the G minor. If you played the full natural minor scale, all the notes in that scale are the same notes that are in the B flat. It's major. And I'll show you. So if I start with the B flat note and continue up those same notes, so that's a law. No matter what key you're playing in, if you're thinking the major chord, its relative minor would be 3 frets down from that. G, 3 frets down is E. That's the relative minor to G major, and so on. You got a D major, its relative minor is B, 3 frets down. So, and if I wanted to make it D major, same notes out of that B minor. So your sound and your feel comes from the note you start on to the note you end on. That's all. Anyways, many side journeys here. So again, from G minor pentatonic. You go up to the B flat, watch my fingers. So I won't, then the next one up from that B flat would be a C note, and the shape is. So you got 3 in a row starting at the C note, and this is slash G minor. There's a position, no matter what key you do these in, and this happens to be the position for this G minor pentatonic. C, D, F, G, B flat, C, D, F, G, B flat, C, D. Where you got to step over. This happens to be that position. You'll have 3 in a row when you come to this position, and it shows up in any key you play them in. It'll be the 3rd position up from your root position, that common known pentatonic like this one, G. 3rd position up after that major one is 3 in a row where you've got fingers 2 and 4, 2, 4, 2, 4, then fingers 1, 4, then you step that fingers 1, 4 over a fret, and then you got 1, 3. And then the last one before it goes back to the same thing down here would be at this D note, and you'd have a D 1, 4, 1, 4, 1, 3, 1, 3, 2, 4, 1, 4. And then the next one repeats the one down here. Another thing that'll help with your creativity is doing these in a 6 count. And do them in every position. And keep alternating. Do it in all the positions. And then a 5 count. Same thing. Oh my God. You can tell I ain't been doing these. You know why? Because I've been doing them the 5 count where instead of going string to string, you know, doing 5 notes and then starting on the A string, going up 5, then starting at the D, I've been doing them like this. I'm going back to the 2nd note I play. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then I'm starting here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then here. So those, and then there's a 3 count. those in all the positions. Probably can't even. You're not likely to obviously do that whole thing like that for a riff, but you might do. Whatever, you might use a piece of it, but it's to develop physical abilities to do things. So there's those, and you can do them in a 4 count. And again, a lot of my riffs that I come up with, and then I do them with the pull-off thing. I used to do these 5 years ago. I was better at playing than I am now. Because I used to spend time on them, right? You get good at whatever you spend time on. It's that simple. And if you, how's it go? If you don't use it, you lose it. Whatever. Anyway, there's a little G minor pentatonic lesson and a couple of tidbits of information on things, you know, that you can use. God, that thing sounds more like reverb. I gotta get one of my son or my nephew to come show me how to use pedals. Alright folks, on to the next thing.